People keep spouting off about a horror revival after the success of films like Us, Get Out, and Hereditary. But don't get it twisted, my guys. There has been no death in the horror family for us to come back from. Sure, there's been lots of bad films released under the wider horror banner over the years, but that is true of every genre. And it's part and parcel of what we expect when horror is the most experimental bad boy out there. You can't have the pleasant surprise of Troll Hunter without Troll 2 carving out the niche after all. Or at least, that's what we convince ourselves. And even with amazing original horrors doing well and opening the door for plenty more excellent movies, we still have a strong raft of remakes heading into cinemas in the next few years that might just manage to emulate the successes of It and Halloween. From 2020, there's a very healthy picture for some of horror's most famous faces. They're just hidden under some god-awful masks. I am Ash from What Culture, and that worked much better on paper. And these are 12 horror movie remakes coming in 2020 and beyond. 12. Friday the 13th. It might not be coming from the most likely of sources, but the forthcoming Friday the 13th remake was one of the first projects announced in the wake of Halloween's success last year. It's coming courtesy of LeBron James and his Sprinkle Entertainment production company. Right now, there is no director or writer attached, but it is definitely on the way. We can only hope that they take advantage of the 30th anniversary of the film to release in 2020 and do a damn better job than previous efforts have. We can be certain that Jason will be back, and if it can avoid the problems of the 2009 reboot, we'll all be laughing. Well, we'll all be running scared, really, but that's exactly as it should be. 11. A Nightmare on Elm Street. The minute Halloween's nostalgic remake did well, you just knew that Freddy Krueger would be coming for you once more. There's no way of avoiding that blade-gloved prick. In actual fact, it's been ticking over in pre-production for some time now, though New Line have been far more invested in their profitable Conjuring series. Still, in the wake of Halloween's release, they have reiterated their intent to give Freddy a new injection of life. Screenwriter David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick, that's a name and a half, told GameSpot that we should expect a reboot in the near future, and I quote, "It's still happening. Nothing is percolating just yet. The Conjuring universe is sort of first and foremost on New Line Cinema's horror burner. Unfortunately, Robert Englund has said he's probably retired from the role, but there must be some way of convincing him to come back. If the nostalgia around Halloween is any indication, New Line would be mad not to do so." 10. The Witches. For an entire generation of film fans, Nicholas Roeg's adaptation of beloved children's book The Witches will have imprinted unforgettably on their minds. It's now almost impossible to see any large gathering of official women without imagining that they're about to de-wig and reveal themselves to be secret witches before turning some poor soul into a mouse. And that is just the way we like it. You didn't think this was my real hair, did you? Even better though, we're about to see the same terrifying fear imprint itself onto a whole new generation, because Robert Zemeckis is remaking it. His plan is apparently to switch the setting to the American South in the 1960s and have Anne Hathaway playing the Grand High Witch in place of the original's Angelica Houston. He's also apparently looking for a young African-American lead, which is a good new direction to be taking. Let's just hope it's Back to the Future quality Zemeckis that turns up to make it. 9. The Toxic Avenger. A remake of Trauma's iconic superhero splatter movie has been in the works for some time now, since 2010 in fact, but it's mostly stalled since then, with various different incarnations hitting the skids. At one point, it was set to be a PG-13 remake. At another, Arnold Schwarzenegger was set to star in it, but he dropped out for Terminator Genisys. Oh dear. And at yet another, Guillermo del Toro was linked with producing it. All of these versions are well and truly brown bread, but back in December, it was revealed that Legendary Pictures had taken the rights on, and this year hired I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore director Macon Blair in a surprising but great move. The tale of a toxic superhero seeking to rid the world of bullies is probably the least conventional of all on this list, but that's what makes it so exciting. Roll on the vat of waste. 8. Train to Busan. Hollywood can't seem to leave a good foreign language film alone, particularly when it's a proven horror film with an existing, captive audience. Such is the case with the excellent Train to Busan, which came out in 2016 and made more than 10 times its budget back, which is unsurprising considering just how tight its zombies on a train oh no narrative was. Barely months after it came out, an English-language remake was optioned, and then in September 2018, Deadline reported that Aquaman director James Wan would be returning to horror to produce the remake, with Gary Dauberman, who wrote the Annabelle films, tackling the script. The original's genius premise of a zombie outbreak in the close confines of a moving train was everything the Resident Evil films should have been. And whilst it's a shame that it needs to be remade for a broader audience when everyone should be watching its original release, it's definitely a story good enough to warrant it. 7. They Hear It. Not every remake has to be of a feature film. Just like David F. Sandberg going full Stretch Armstrong on Lights Out to make it a full cinematic release. David Robert Mitchell is following a similar creative journey by remaking short film They Hear It in conjunction with the director of the original short, Julian Terry, who will direct from Mitchell's script. The original was a type of sensory horror, focused on a mysterious presence called the Sound that, once heard by anyone, has terrible consequences. Kind of like how you hear a fart before being subjected to a terrible pong. Unlike a fart, however, the film sounds great, and if Terry's other short films are anything to go by, it'll be another firm favourite for anyone who likes having their senses turned against them. 6. Wrong Turn. Usually, filmmakers will leave movies alone for a few decades before seeking to remake them. At the moment, we're going to start seeing more and more 90s remakes, for instance, with the magic 30 years later time period almost upon us. But for all that's worth, it means nothing to Wrong Turn, since we're already looking at a remake just 15 years after the original kicked off the whole franchise. There have been 6 movies in total in that series, precisely one of which has been any good, but it's a brand with enough staying power to warrant another look, apparently. This time, the original movie's screenwriter Alan McElroy will write the script, and Mike P. Nelson, who directed 2018's The Domestics, will direct it. It's a franchise built on backwards cannibals, and as long as they keep to that formula, it will pull in fans. Intriguingly though, it seems to be aiming for more overtly political content this time around. It's been described as a timely and topical meditation on society and its issues, with the plot cited as a cross-country hiking expedition puts a group of friends in the land of an inclusive society, where they soon discover they are under a different rule of law and may not be the victims that they thought they were. Anyone else getting Tucker and Dale vibes? 5. The Tommyknockers. In the wake of its success, we were always going to get a slew of Stephen King projects on the big and small screens as his horror stock rose once more. Good. Very good. Coming up in the next couple of years is a new adaptation of his 1987 novel, The Tommyknockers, which was previously an ABC miniseries that plainly sucked, to put it mildly. James Wan, yes, him again, Sweet Prince, will add to his horror credits by readapting the book that King himself has called awful as recently as 2014. It's apparently going to be an allegorical tale of addiction, since King was struggling with his own addictions at the time, that also looks at the threat of nuclear power, the danger of mass hysteria, and the absurdity of technical evolution run amok. In reality, it's a story about the effects a mysterious alien gas has on a town in Maine as its town people come to terms with new abilities and their bloodlust. King might not be a huge fan, but there is a good story in there, so it is worth another go. 4. Arachnophobia. It might be remembered particularly by people with long-standing issues with spiders, for whom the film probably forever changed showers, slippers and popcorn, but the original Arachnophobia is not appreciated as much as it deserves at all. Mainly because it's full of horrible spiders, but still, there's a good movie in there too. Luckily, it's being remade by Steven Spielberg's Amblin Entertainment and James Wan's Atomic Monster, and while it has no crew or talent attached yet, that combination is already exciting enough. Of course, it would be really nice if either was directing, but that is unlikely. The original told the story of an invasion of killer 8-legged beasties, which is about as universal a fear as they come. Equally though, if you're scared of something, you probably don't want to go and see a film that reminds you your house is literally full of them, so we'll just see how well this one really does. 3. The Birds. For a while there, we were close to getting a movie remake of The Birds from producer Michael Bay, which is fairly terrifying in itself. Whilst the production has had more filmmakers attached to it than anyone could possibly hope to remember, it looks like it is finally happening. Rather than a big screen remake though, it'll be made by the BBC and producer David Heyman, the driving production force behind the Harry Potter series. Wait, what? Taking the literary inspiration from that franchise then, it will focus more on Daphne du Maurier's 1952 novel rather than Alfred Hitchcock's film. Set not long after World War II, it follows an attack by maniacal birds on a seaside town. Though Hitchcock did the story justice, there's certainly room for an alternate take on the material. Even if that material literally is When Seagulls Attack by any B-movie name. 2. Grudge. Set for release on January 3rd, 2020, this remake of the delightfully creepy Ju-on The Grudge will seek to make the world fall in love with J-horror again. The original rode the wave of the world's first obsession with that genre, and while there was a remake with Sarah Michelle Gellar, new takes are more than welcome here. Sam Raimi is producing, thankfully. It is great to see him back involved in horrors. The reboot is also directed by Nicholas Pesci, who directed the absolutely batshit Piercing in 2018, and stars the likes of Andrea Riseborough, John Cho, William Sadler, and Jackie Weaver. Ju-on was brilliantly scary, and if they can recapture some of that magic with their eye-catching cast, as well as allowing Pesci off the chain, it might well be the remake we have long deserved. Not that we've had a grudge about the other one or anything. Get it? Get it? The Grudge? Get it? Hello? 1. The Candyman. Now that Jordan Peele has been crowned the new king of horror, what he turns his hand to next is bound to attract even more attention. And after he's done revitalizing The Twilight Zone, he's also remaking The Candyman through his Monkey Paw Productions. Original star Tony Todd spoke to Nightmare on Elm Street to express his enthusiasm, and I quote, "I'd rather have him do it. Someone with intelligence who's going to be thoughtful and dig into the whole racial makeup of who Candyman is and why he existed in the first place." It's set to be directed by Littlewood's Helmer Nia DaCosta, and will be both a remake and a spiritual sequel, possibly starring Sorry to Bother You's Lakeith Stanfield, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, and Virginia Madsen. There's no concrete word on who will star as the Candyman, but let's pray to all things unholy that it is Tony Todd again. DaCosta is promising surprises and wants to keep her cards close to her chest for now, which in itself is actually very exciting. Oh, Candyman, 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 Candyman. And that's our list. What remake are you most excited for? Which one absolutely boils your piss? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. I've been Ash, and this has been What Culture. Make sure to subscribe to the What Culture YouTube channel for more lists like this, and don't forget to visit whatculture.com for daily news and articles. Thanks for watching.